This is Mexico, the 10th largest country in the world with a population of 130 million. Mexico is one of the most important countries of the 21st century because of its location, and history. In the north of Mexico is the United States, in the south, and in the west is the Pacific Ocean, and in the southeast is Guatemala, Belize, in the Caribbean Sea, while on the eastern side is the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico has been the cradle of different cultures and civilizations for thousands of years. You might be surprised to know that the largest pyramid in the world is not in Egypt, but in the Mexican state of Puebla, which is called the Pyramid of Cholula. Before the arrival of the Europeans, there were many civilizations. The Olmecs were the first to live here. Then in around 200 AD, the Mayans came here and ruled over Central and South America for 700 years. Mayan civilization was the most advanced civilization of its time, whose disappearance is still a mystery. His knowledge of maths, agriculture, and astronomy was unbelievable for that time. But then around 950 AD, this civilization mysteriously disappeared. Then the Toltecs came in the 10th and 11th centuries, and after them, the Aztecs settled here in the 13th century. And then they continued to rule central Mexico until the 14th century, until the Europeans came here. One thing has been common throughout these thousands of years, and that is the living pattern of people. Even today, around 60% population of Mexico lives in this thin strip, which is only 18% of the total land area of Mexico. This means that the remaining 82% of Mexico is completely empty. But why is this? Why have humans been living in this small area in Mexico for thousands of years? And another very important question is, what is going to happen in the future that can make Mexico an economic giant? Mexico's geography is one of the main reasons why people only live in this small area. Only 13% of Mexico's land is suitable for agriculture. The entire north of Mexico is a dry and hot desert, where farming and growing food is nearly impossible. Similarly, in the south of Mexico, the whole area is densely forested, where there is a lot of rain, and it is very difficult to build infrastructure here. You need dry concrete to build roads or buildings, but here it rains so much that it is practically impossible. And that's why there are only 8 roads on the 1,100 kilometers long border of Mexico that connect Mexico to Central America. And similarly, if we come a little further south, there is not a single road between Panama and Colombia that connects these two parts of America. And on top of all these geographic complications, almost 70% of Mexico covered by mountains, and these mountains created very unfavorable conditions for Mexico. The biggest disadvantage is that cutting these mountains and creating infrastructure is a very difficult and expensive task. And that is why this central part of Mexico where people live is cut off from the rest of Mexico by these mountain ranges, which is why it is very difficult for even the government to control and monitor this entire area. So it is very difficult for the police to monitor this entire area, from Guatemala and Belize to the northern border of Mexico. And that is why smuggling of drugs and weapons is very common from here. On the one hand, this drug from southern Mexico, they are smuggled in central Mexico, and then from here they are smuggled through the northern border of North America, now here, because there are deserts and high mountains. Therefore, it is very difficult for the police to stop the trafficking. One of the reasons for the high population in central Mexico is that this land is the most fertile in all of Mexico. The entire area is full of volcanoes, and hence a very important grain called corn was historically first grown here. This area is ideal for agriculture and irrigations, and that is why all the civilizations settled here for thousands of years. Similarly, the most important city for the economy of Mexico is Veracruz. Veracruz is a coastal city on the eastern border of Mexico. 35% of Mexico's water supply comes from here. This is the point from where the Spanish, American, and French army entered Mexico in the 16th and 19th century and captured its capital, Mexico City. There is a huge mountain range around Mexico City, which gives it protection from external attack. But these mountains are also a big obstacle in protecting the coastal line of Mexico. Therefore, before the 20th century, Mexico was very vulnerable to external forces. Then, in 1873, a railway track was laid with great difficulty on this distance of 200 miles from Veracruz to Mexico City, and at the same time nearly 50,000 miles of railroad network had been laid in Mexico's neighboring United States because the geography of America was very flat, and even compared to Mexico, and because of the same infrastructure development, the U.S. from Mexico, it went too far. These geographical complications of Mexico are the major reason for this population pattern of Mexico, and for Mexico's lagging behind North America. But in the past few years, Mexico has undergone a tremendous transformation. 17 gas pipelines have been laid from the United States to Mexico between 2010 and 2023, and most of the gas has been delivered to the manufacturing plants installed on the U.S. and Mexico border, which has two benefits. One is because of the cheap gas. There has been a lot of boost in the manufacturing industry of Mexico, and the other is because of the cheap labor. The overall production cost has been reduced a lot, and realizing this opportunity, many international companies are now shifting their manufacturing plant to Mexico. Today, Nissan manufactures many more vehicles in Mexico than its home country, Japan. Mexico is the fifth largest exporter of vehicles in the world. Mexico in 2019, it has become the largest trading partner of United States, leaving behind Canada and China. Experts are predicting that if Mexico's manufacturing industry continues to grow at the same rate, Mexico will become the seventh largest economy in the world in the next 20 years. And as Mexico's manufacturing industry expands, Mexico's population pattern will also change, with many people leaving the central area and settling on the northern border as more factories are being set up in that area. And being right on the border, there are no additional taxes in the U.S. on the products coming out of these factories. It seems that the Mexicans have now decided to solve their bad geography. And when a nation collectively decides to do so, then no one can stop him from moving forward.